Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your guide from Ukraine, Olena. This week, all women of Ukraine celebrated the International Female Orgasm Day. And I did, and all women in Ukraine did, and even all men in Ukraine did. The sponsor of all Ukrainian Orgasm Day is the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny. Pass it to the boys. The holiday was a success. For the first time since the war has started, my children saw me dancing. You'd better not see this. But look at this. What you see is the explosion at the Russian airbase in the temporarily occupied Crimea. Crimea that was occupied by Russians 8 years ago. And basically this is when the war of Russia against Ukraine has started, when Russia invaded Ukraine for the first time. But back then, the serious nature of this Russian crime was underestimated by the international community. So Russia attacked the east of Ukraine, occupied the east of Ukraine, and what we saw this year, Russia has started the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by land, by air, and by the sea. And for the first time since this full-scale invasion, on the 9th of August, Ukraine hit Putin's nose. For the first time, the clap has happened on the Ukrainian territory that Russia thought it's already theirs like forever. And Ukraine would not dare and would not be able to take it back. Don't fuck with Ukraine, damn Putin. So what we saw on the 9th of August is that Putin's holy land was hit. We saw the Russian fear for the first time. We saw that it is afraid. For the first time since the full-scale invasion has started, we saw Russian civilians running away. Because we already saw how Russian militaries were running away from Kiev and some other cities, but for the first time it was Russian civilians who were afraid and running away. I will show you two videos that became super popular on Ukrainian Facebook. This one is where a young lady is running away from the beach and she's crying, "Mama, Mamulichka, we have to get out of here. Your wooden hut on the beach will not save you. Let's get out before it's too late." To make it clear, I'm super happy that this woman was not injured directly and her little daughter. I'm super happy that her little daughter, not like my little daughter, is not falling on the ground each time when she hears a loud explosion. I'm super happy that these Russian civilians and these Russian children are not super afraid of all the loud sounds. They are not afraid, you know, they are standing, they are watching, they are filming this with their mobile phones. And probably this is how I was feeling on the 24th of February, before the first kids of Ukraine were killed by Russians. I don't want their children to be killed. I don't want this to happen, and this is why, dear Russians, go back home. And they have started to get out. Well, Crimea is a peninsula attached to Ukraine. After Russia has invaded and occupied it, they have built a bridge to connect Crimea with Russian land. And what we saw and keep seeing is the real exodus of Russians from Crimea back to Russia. You are right. Get out of here before it is too late.
Stefania, mama moja, Stefania.
And now guys, the second video that became super popular. Look at this poor Russian occupant. She is crying. She is so upset. She is saying, "I don't want to leave Crimea. It is so cool here. We were living here like in our own house." You see, she was living in somebody's house and she was feeling over there like at home. And this was so cool. And now she is so upset with this, that she needs to leave. You know, this is when you settle into somebody's house and suddenly in the middle of the night you hear the keys in the lock. I don't know the feeling, but something tells me that many Russians know. Ukraine will liberate Crimea and will take back all of our internationally recognized territories. You know, before they were chilling on the beach, life was good. Somewhere over there in Ukraine, a little victorious war was going on. Oh, sorry, it was not the war. Russians are not allowed to say the war. This is just a special military operation. After which Russians will get more land, more coal, more wheat, more nuclear energy. You know, like one 60 years old Russian man was dreaming in the interview that his wife was always dreaming about a little house with a garden, so maybe they will get one in Kherson after Russia takes this land by force. Disgusting. But on the 9th of August, we saw their imperial utopia crushed. It's not only about, you know, an exact airfield that was damaged, about 9 military jets of Russia that were destroyed. It's more than this. This is the first step. And what did we get in response? Russians didn't even confess that these were Ukrainian armed forces that hit their airbase in Crimea. To confess this would mean to acknowledge that their air defense system is shit. To say that this were partisan was to acknowledge that their police and, you know, the guard is not good enough. So what they did, they said it's just detonation of ammunition, you know, the well-known all over the world Russian general bungling. Olena, don't underestimate the enemy. Well, Ukraine doesn't mind to play the game, so Ukrainian Ministry of Defense said, okay, this is Russian business. Maybe somebody smoked something in the wrong place. Maybe this was just a violation of fire safety rules. Ukraine doesn't need loud propaganda on TV. We all understand what's happening. Ukraine doesn't need to disclose what kind of weapons it already has and is using. You know how we say in Ukraine, we don't know if our commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Zaluzhin, whether he is smoking American cigarettes, but he is throwing the cigarette butts like a god. So basically what followed? Do you remember how the Russian clown Dmitry Medvedev, he was promising to Ukraine the judgment day if Ukraine touches Crimea. So Ukrainian obviously touched Crimea, but Russia said it didn't, and Ukraine doesn't mind. Let's play the game. Russia didn't burn all of Ukrainian land. Believe me, if it could, this would already happen. Instead, since Russia cannot resist the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield, it is terrorizing the civil population. So Russia will kill more children, more civilian people. We have more of airstrikes. Well, it's interesting that the same night and the next day, like yesterday, there was no air raid siren on in Kiev, in the capital of Ukraine, but there was a lot in other regions of Ukraine, and there were many civilian people killed. There were residential buildings hit by Russian missiles. And right now, when I'm doing this video for you, all of Ukraine is red, which means the air raid siren is on all over Ukraine. So they keep terrorizing Ukraine. Am I not afraid? I am afraid, guys. I'm afraid since the first day of Russian invasion has started. I'm afraid for myself, for my children, for my husband, for all of us. But being afraid doesn't help to win the enemy. The enemy will keep killing us, whether we are afraid or not afraid. The only way how to stop Putin from killing us is to resist. Russia will not stop killing Ukrainian people until it is defeated on the battlefield. Russia is a terrorist state and a threat to the whole free world. Russia needs to be stopped. Oh, my sisters and brothers, please forgive me this sinful mixture of pleasure and disgust. I'm wickedly happy today. But what I really want is this war to come to an end. I want the real female orgasm. I want my husband to come back home. I want all of our men and women to come back home in Ukraine. I want all Russians to go home, to leave Ukraine and just go home. Just Russia, go home. Just fuck off Ukraine.